This gonna be about imagination. So a lot of folks got a misunderstanding about how imagination works. They think just because it's imagination, which is coming from your own mind, that it's untrue or it's unrealistic or too much just dealing with fantasy. For one, you got unrealistic fantasy, then you just have fantasy. Fantasy is dealing more with a cult, and then unrealistic fantasy is dealing with humanity. There's techniques on how to heal from your trauma as far as using your imagination. I see a lot of niggas talking about breaking generational curses, but don't really know what it means. They think it's just some shit to be proud of, say it on Facebook, and then walk away. And then when nobody else is talking about it, they stop talking about it. So what breaking generational curses mean is getting out the bondage of humanity, because ultimately the only real curse there is incarnating into a physical body. And they told you that in a book about what I'm saying, but the title of the book is The Influences of Lucifer, the influences of Lucifer and Armin. In that book, they tell you how in ancient India they looked at as incarnating into a physical body is considered a curse. That is really the only real considerable curse that you can have, especially when you don't even know it. You just think everything outside of you and everybody else is doing it to you, whether it's white folks, whether it's black folks, whether it's goddamn God, devil. You get what I'm saying? But it's more deeper than that. So you can't really just say we dealing with some atheist shit where no God exists. And at the same time, we ain't also dealing with just worshiping shit. The God that most motherfuckers pray to is not on their side. Matter of fact, any God that you pray to outside of yourself is really irrelevant. You wasting your time talking to yourself. So worshiping is out of the question as far as it being futile. But back to imagination, as far as connecting it to breaking generational curses, it's techniques that you come up with using your imagination to do that. Like the book Cyclomancy, for folks who really dealing with the work. And another book is How to Use Your Brain. So in these books, they giving you endless techniques on how to do it, which you can literally apply the techniques to yourself, but it's not necessarily dealing with the only way of doing it, especially as far as being literal at the same time as well. So it's techniques, but it's a certain way that you got to do the technique, which is ultimately using your imagination. So as far as one technique to break out of the generational curses, like niggas love to scream on Facebook, is using a certain technique from your imagination as well, as far as roasting, ranking, joning in your imagination without expecting it to do that shit literally in the physical. So when you do this in your mind, you practicing the roasting technique in your mind, as far as when you used to get bullied in the fucking 5th grade Use your imagination to roast whoever was bullying you in the 5th grade, and then you can apply that same method as far as presently as well. It ain't just about working with the trauma. It's about using it for protection as well. So whoever you got that's bothering you, the vibe you ain't fucking with, and your imagination, which takes practice, doing it more than just once. Use your imagination to ass the fuck up out of there. And then if you don't think it worked the first time, which is more likely to happen, it's more ways to do this shit, and they show up, whether it's physically, mentally, as just a thought. Use your imagination to get rid of the thought of that person. For one example, another example is dealing with the negative thoughts of how you've been raised from your mother, whether she shows you enough love or not enough. This one may be hard, but check it out. You imagine her head getting cut off. Imagine her head getting cut off, and then see how you respond to that emotionally. If it's a sad emotion, you still got some releasing to do as far as letting go, because that's what this shit is about. You so in love or have too much love for your mother, then you still under the negative traits, still under the influence of thinking this matrix is real. It's so real to you that you still hanging on to that resentment of your mother or your father or whoever did you wrong in the past. So imagine her dying helps you release yourself from those negative traits of really just humanity as well, as far as in general. And that's just one way to start. So the more you come up with these imagination techniques, from my experience, it get more fun, interesting. That shit unlocks core memories. Like niggas used like to say, all type of shit. You come up with all different types of perspectives, infinite realities, all these different infinite possibilities start to be available to you to channel, which is really tapping into what the Akashic Records is about as part of it. And just what we dealing with is just infinite possibilities, infinite potential, which is what they was talking about as far as in the beginning there was darkness. Before there was light, there was darkness. Telling you in the Bible, before the Bible was Gnosticism. Gnosticism being one of the main core influences of how the Bible came about. So your imagination is a great AK-47 to use for any issue you got, especially as far as repelling, protection, and as far as magnetizing, and as well as transforming up out of this matrix, because ultimately you ain't gonna be fully free up out of this matrix until you go through the death process, which is physically, and you can start it spiritually right now, as far as shedding off your humanity using techniques. Don't just get stuck on one technique, because a lot of motherfuckers will get discouraged because they get bored of just focusing on one way to do shit based upon being mind controlled and school training, thinking you can only do shit one way. So this lecture is basically just about mainly the imagination and how it works. So when you do these techniques, the more you do it, the more you'll realize, oh, that's how I can cleanse my aura. Instead of just doing shit the same old way, like setting up altars, spiritual baths, you know what I'm saying? Everybody wanna be tapped into nature, but nature ain't just dealing with fucking with animals. Especially when you know a crocodile will bite your fucking leg off with no hesitation. Really, the more organic way, what niggas mean is spirituality. A great way to do that is just using your mind. So if you go just do rituals, consider doing rituals using your imagination. The altars and shit is a stepping stone to do that in the first place. They started off doing it by doing pyramids. A whole bunch of shit in one. That's why it's hard to get enough of that shit. Find yourself going back to it. And then modern times now they do it as niggas do it as tables, uh, mainly tables on a conscious, unconscious level. Niggas have family portraits send up in all type of counters and shit. Like, damn, nigga, we been doing shit. But niggas ain't gonna believe that we been doing it because we so caught up in thinking that we are just the monkeys of the show to watch other monkeys be a part of the show, being better monkeys than us. Mind control for your ass. So that's the reason why niggas be thinking like that on the logical level as far as spirituality goes. But it's more than just goddamn setting up candles, dressing a certain way, all type of shit. Niggas love to be prideful about, but your consciousness being expanded or downloads, getting downloads from the universe, that's not the end all to be all either. So while you here though, you still can be practicing how the concept of all possible realities work. And the more you do that, the more you'll realize that it's infinite. So that's what the Holy Grail basically was talking about as far as the cup, this cup that never becomes empty. It's talking about a limited potential, which is within a limited potential. So if you conscious and you gaining enlightenment, you shouldn't be worried about shit as a human being like that, no matter from a small level to a big level. And then when you really do the critical analyzing that you're supposed to do, you realize the big issues really ain't no different from the small issues. If anything, from both levels, they can only get smaller to the point where it dissipates and it becomes an illusion. Because at the end of the day, humanity is the illusion. Humanity is the Maya that they talk about in Indian mythology. It is Gaia, based upon Greek mythology. So if you go deal with monsters, as far as us being these grotesque beings, the Typhonians, the greater ones, that is truly what it means to ponder on the concept of thinking beyond the norm, the unknown, the unexplainable. The unexplainable is still dwelling within. On one level, humanity becomes just unexplainable because niggas still looking at shit from NASA standards, thinking whatever they come up with is the only logical, legitimate way to really see shit for real. Where in reality it is, they know a lot that what they be talking about is pointless, futile, but they mind controlling you to think that just because they got shit like AI, robots, technology, that's the only thing we can look forward to you. Although we in a simulation, we see it got to a point where they had to update their mind control tactics. They can't really just force feed or give you Jesus no more because a lot of niggas is stepping into real spirituality. So they'll say shit like, when is this gonna be over? How do we know we in the last days? If we not in the last days, then it's pointless to talk about consciousness or doing any type of spiritual work. But these robots though, but these Tesla trucks though, you get what I'm saying? No, nigga, if this a illusion, this a illusion. If this illusion is pointless, this illusion is pointless. But within the illusion, the core of this illusion is the true meaning of what the black dot is. The pineal gland. The same motherfuckers on that Gaia app talking about chakras all of a sudden. Well, you ain't got to do the traditional way of the monks as far as meditation to activate your chakras and use it as a ladder to reach higher realities in your fucking mind. Besides just traveling to Egypt physically, getting on planes and shit just to have anxiety about turbulence. Jumping out your sleep on a fucking plane because of some turbulence. We doing all that extreme measure shit when you can be traveling the unconscious, unknown, otherworldly parts of your mind. If you don't know how to do that, you fronting. Because it's simple. What are you scared of? Start there. Start there in your mind. And facing what you're scared of don't necessarily mean facing your fears physically. Oh man, I'm scared of heights. I'm scared of bungee jump. So I guess the only way to bungee jump is to go do that shit physically, literally. Nah, use your imagination to bungee jump. Imagine bungee jumping, then get the true feeling. Because if we go say your imagination is invalid, then how the fuck is you overthinking? How the hell can you have anxiety thoughts that give you anxiety if your thoughts mean nothing? When at the same time you getting emotional as if it is happening. Same way if a motherfucker personally come to you with a knife, you gonna have your guard up. In your dream, which is stemming from your mind, and you had the same scenario happen, a motherfucker stab you in your dream, You wake the fuck up out the dream like, what the fuck? But if it's just from your own mind, then, and it's not real, what the fuck you jumping up out your sleep for? So what I'm talking about is we got some mysteriousness within humanity, which is within the physical body, to explore not the physical body itself and not humanity itself. So if a nigga ain't really trying to explore his mind for real, he either ain't got the confidence, he or she ain't got the confidence, they lazy or they scared. This shit ain't really hard to do. What's hard is accepting the truth of what you channeling and get a realization of. You will get the realizations that hip hop was never gonna be shit and never was shit from the get go to begin with. You'll get certain realizations like that, transforming an ego, which is what alchemy is about. These realizations that you have no choice but to move forward. So when you ponder shit in your mind of the possibilities of what death is, after you move on from the book studies and research of what death is, and you get your own interpretations of them, you will find out shit, what the fuck I was about to say. You will find out that, for one, like I said before, possibilities still endless, and there's no limit to how your mind works. And then pondering shit like death in your mind is what raises your kundalini energy up to the enlightenment of kundalini enlightenment. The enlightenment of kundalini versus kundalini itself, two different things. One and the same, but it's different on a subtle level. It's on a subtle level because you got motherfuckers who barely got any research of what that is for real. So it's really subtle to them. So the more you study and research, it becomes less subtle. And that's what expanding your consciousness is about, to the point where you can have more kundalini awakening. So after death, you have more control over your decision making as far as what you want to happen after death. This shit ain't no made up shit. These concepts have been Book of the Dead. What the Bardo is. Cause niggas will get, you start talking about death, niggas will say, well, we don't know exactly what happens when you die. Niggas will say shit like that. But at the same time, we know what the hell happens on Earth. Let's not stop fronting. We can't front like it ain't no alternative information on Earth. Although you may not truly know what happens after death. But the whole point is to prepare yourself for death as much as possible. But you ain't gonna do that if you backing down from shit, thinking, reincarnation ain't nothing. We don't know what happens for real when you die. Like, how could you say that if you think you go to heaven someday and you worshiping God, and the main point of doing that is to go to heaven? Because you ain't doing that shit out of love. You ain't doing that shit out of pure heart. You doing that shit out of fear. So you worshiping shit out of fear because you scared of you go to fucking hell, which don't make sense. Because I see you niggas running around in hell already. You worry about AI doing this shit. You worry about your kids getting kidnapped. Yet you think it's important to have kids because kids are the fucking future, yet they still getting kidnapped. Don't make sense. So that is the fear and just examples of the fear that you having, which makes you run to religion instead of, if we go talk some fucking logical and reasoning shit, it's gonna be on a spiritual level because logic is a form of intuition as well. So what niggas don't understand is the fears and as well as fantasies that niggas have be unrealistic. And they having this cognitive dissonance because they can't let go of what they think they already know. Well, I wasn't raised like that. Niggas that say shit like that. Being raised like that is just mind control. Everybody want to talk shit about what the fuck mind control is and how bad it is. Why y'all never talk about how bad it is being raised a certain way when it's the same thing? So and then even if you wasn't raised a certain way or was raised a certain way, on a spiritual level, you still should be open to any possibilities. So if you go be obsessed about the science of movies like Anywhere, Everywhere, All at Once, whatever it's called, you gotta be realistic with it. You gotta accept the fact that you don't always know everything. You can fuck what you know for the moment, but at the same time be open to other possibilities. So as far as shadow work goes, the thoughts that you get in your mind is what that's about. As far as questioning your dark side, whether you think is negative or positive, you should be questioning that shit. And that's how your intuition expands and you get better at knowing self, not knowing everything, but knowing self. That's the key to this shit. That's the key to getting over the fear of death. So back to what I was saying about pondering death. When you die, you think you just go forget every fucking thing forever? How does that work? What if you, because I don't even want to say what if. I know certain books that tell you that there is a fucking afterlife. Robert Bruce Astrodynamics, nigga. The word astral alone lets you know that there is an afterlife, and especially that it's not fucking far-fetched. So if we go consider the possibilities of what happens when you share a physical body, let's pretend on some what if shit. So what if when you die, you still retain the same memories you had on Earth? And your memories on Earth is just you being in fucking church. Think about how that will really help your ass. Now, conscious niggas I know is, at least I know, is the ones that's advanced to be able to see in their mind how that shit will work. If you just now get into this early and you don't know, can't understand what I'm saying, then that just shows you got research to do. My first time stepping into this research shit really was back in like 2013. And I really ain't started making lectures till like recently. a few years ago, because I know the reason I stopped doing it, it ain't all about me just teaching, it's about me learning shit as well. So every now and then I ponder to think about, should I do it or not? But my point is, if you new to this, consider you to be bound to not know what the shit I'm talking about, or be disagreeable as well. Not saying I'm always right either. But that's my point as far as how the process of alchemy works. One of the main keys is having an open mind to keep doing research. If you're not getting thrilled, fascinated about how complex and how much more there is to know, dealing with